Hello, listeners, and welcome back to the Community Exchange podcast, where we sit down with friends old and new to talk about their careers and what's shaping the future of media and advertising and AI. I'm Matthew Scott Goldstein, better known as
MSG.
Thank you, Karen. As always, the Community Exchange podcast is brought to you by OpenWeb, the community platform of the open internet. Now we have a great conversation for you with Karen Ho, Chief of Staff of Ziff Davis. We're going to talk about what Chief of Staff means in a sec. Karen is a strategic operations and partnership leader. She's basically one of the smartest people I know in the AI community and everything. And I'm so excited to finally get you here and talk to you. I know you're a little bit nervous, but you're ready to go.
I'm ready to go.
Okay. So Georgia Tech. So let me start with Georgia Tech. Like, you grew up where?
Atlanta.
And then you stayed in around the area. So tell me about Georgia Tech.
So the thing that people don't know about Georgia is that if you grow up, if you're a resident in Georgia, any public school is free. Any public college is free, right? So then you've got Georgia State, Georgia Tech, UGA. And so that was my options, you know.
Free.
Absolutely. You can't beat free, right? So of the three, you know, you just go with, well, Georgia Tech, you know, good school. I'll go there for free. And so that was the path to Georgia Tech. It was a very easy kind of narrow
Room and
down.
board, tuition, the whole thing?
Well,
or tuition was free?
Tuition.
Tuition was free. Okay, and you had to pay to live. Okay.
Yes, exactly. And so went to Georgia Tech, and that was the path.
That's incredible.
Yeah, and it's still to this day free.
Okay, and then how'd you get from Georgia Tech to the New York metropolitan area?
Okay, I will caveat: it's free as long as you have a GPA of, you know, over, at the time it was over 3.0.
But as it should be. You need to have some
right,
skin in
yeah.
the game, yes.
Yes.
How'd you get to New York?
So New York. So after Georgia Tech, my first job was at Deloitte Consulting. So I was a management consultant.
And what year are we talking about now?
That was 2008.
It's the third interview we've had where everyone's career started like around the Great Recession.
So my first summer internship was Goldman Sachs in their private wealth management division, right? And so I went into this thinking that I was going to be a finance person.
You know, that was my career that I should have had as a wealth manager.
You would have been amazing.
I know. I want to do that. I want to do that now.
You could definitely do it now. I mean,
I have to take some tests, I think. Okay, then move on.
Yeah, and so that was, I thought, at the time, I was like, I love this. It's not banking, but it's, you know, relationships and it's money management. And this is interesting. And then the crash happened.
Oh, and it took you out of that career path.
And it took everyone out of that career path, right?
Okay.
I mean, they're not recruiting anymore when, you know, the entire industry is kind of, you know, falling off a cliff. And so after that, it was when I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. And then decided, well, what do you do when you don't know what you want to do? You go into management consulting, right?
Back then you did, yes.
Yeah, because it's an awesome starting point because you're not pigeonholed into any one industry, right? Your clients can be anyone. And you're also not pigeonholed into a function. And so that's how I started at Deloitte. What brought me eventually to New York was the fact
You were Deloitte in Atlanta.
I was Deloitte in Atlanta.
Okay.
And then Deloitte at the time was very much a up or out system, which means you either go to business school, either they tell you can't go to business school, or they say you have to go to business school. And so at the time, I was like, okay, I guess I'll go to business school because I didn't know what else I was going to do.
Did they pay for business school?
As long as you come back. And so business.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's where, you know, business school, NYU, that's what brought me to New York. And then came back to Deloitte because I needed business school to be paid for. I don't like to pay for college. Clearly,
So you're 2 for 2. I love that. There's the title of the episode.
And so Deloitte paid for business school. And then after the golden handcuffs were off, I got to take a little bit of a gap year, essentially, because, you know, consulting in your 20s is awesome. But by that point, I'm hitting my 30s and I got burnt out, right? And
were you doing the 4-in-1 where you would spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on some job site somewhere consulting, then you come back Friday and you're exhausted? Like, that's the life?
Yeah, as long as some clients were local, but then others, it was absolutely the Monday to Thursday, you're on a plane, you come back, which was so much fun, again, in your 20s.
Okay, yes.
Right? But again, when you're settling down, when you're thinking about building a family, it doesn't work anymore.
Okay, so then after Deloitte, you went to...
So after Deloitte, I went to Meta.
Okay, was it Facebook that
It
then?
was Facebook. It was Facebook then.
And what year was this?
Oh my goodness, 2017.
Okay, and was that when Facebook was still cool? Is that when you told people at Thanksgiving you work for Facebook? They're like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing?
No.
Because at some point...
No, this was actually the beginning of there was a big privacy leak where that was kind of like when Facebook was not cool. Like everyone actually really hated Facebook when I joined. And so I joined at a little bit of a tough time. I'd say in terms of like, it's not the thing that you necessarily wanted to bring up.
Okay. And what was your role at Facebook?
Strategy and operations lead, or I was in the strategy and operations group at Meta. And so,
but you weren't in ad sales and you weren't an engineer.
No, neither. No, neither. And so you have a group really of a lot of prior consultants in the end of the day, because what this group does is they partner with a business leader. And when they partner with the business leader, they're helping them with what is the strategy for this group? How do we think about growth for this area? How do we set goals for the team? How do we track against that? And so this is the motion and what projects should we be focused on? And so that's this like kind of strategy and operations group. They used to call it sales operations. They rebranded strategic planning and operations.
Okay.
Then at some point, I think they might have also called it business planning and operations. But largely, similar things where you're really helping alongside a business leader, help them chart their course for how they're going to, manage, grow.
Which is foreshadowing to your next job. We'll get to that in a sec. Okay.
Exactly.
And what was it like working at Facebook? You were at 770 Broadway, I assume?
I was at 770 and also.
Okay, I used to work at 770 back in the day also.
It's a great building.
Yeah.
It was a great building.
But I'm talking like 1999 I was there, I believe.
Man, it was an awesome place to work. I will say it's an awesome place to work. You've got really, really bright people. It was actually more scrappy than you would think, because you think it's like this massive place, but at least the groups that I was working in, we were building things from scratch. We were building programs from scratch. We were doing things for the first time. But everyone is like smart, like they want to be your friend, so it's one of those atmospheres very similar.
And it was run by a visionary who was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. Where I think same thing for consulting, same thing for Meta. It's like you kind of end up becoming friends with your coworkers. There's like a blurred line, right? Like in management consulting, you go out for drinks. Is that
intentional? Does it just happen? Is it something corporate leadership talks about? Like, isn't that great?
I think it's a product of the environment where for management consulting, like you're on these projects and you don't have anyone else to hang out with. So you're kind of
you can't hang out with the employees of the company you're consulting with, right?
No,
okay, so
not
you have
so
to hang
much.
out with each other. Okay.
Not so much. And then at Meta, they're giving you all this, they give you lunch. They give you all the meals, right? Breakfast, lunch, dinner, right? So you're gonna be mingling and you're gonna make friends because you're doing all your meals together. You're not like you're in an open floor plan. You're not working in an office by yourself, and so it kind of forces that. And then they had these happy hours that they used to do every week, which is
at
amazing.
770.
At 770, and these were
what day of the week?
Thursdays.
Okay.
Thursdays. And so on Thursdays, there's happy hour. And so then the cafeteria transforms and it's like beer and wine and like cheese platters and just everything you could possibly want, right? And food. And then you can invite anyone you want, right? And so then I just like asked my friends to come by and every Thursday, hey, do you guys want to do Facebook happy hour? And that was like a thing. And then that also then built this like culture of like, you bring your friends and you're friends with the people you work with. And it,
right.
It fosters that in a different way. So it was amazing. It was awesome.
Okay. And then what happened to your career at Facebook Meta?
So my fifth year, which is actually a big deal, because like
making it 5 years is a big deal.
Or
that's when your stock options vest.
So like a lot of those things, but the big thing that people talk about is that after 5 years, you get like a month of just like paid time off.
Like a sabbatical,
like a little sabbatical where it's like, thank you, you made it for 5 years. So that would have been the year of my like sabbatical, which was awesome.
And there was so many people at Facebook where if you took off for a month, your job wasn't that critical. Other people could do it, right? Like for smaller companies, it's harder to do, I think.
And people kind of like know how to work around this. Like you build a transition plan and so many people go on these sabbaticals.
Okay,
and so they figured it out. They figured it out. But November hits, there's murmurings of like layoffs at this point in time.
So what year are we now? November
I think this is 22.
Oh, so it's post-COVID.
It's post-COVID, and I think
So you're working from home.
working
You're living
from
in
home,
Brooklyn, post-COVID.
This is post-COVID. I think we might have come back to the offices at this point. And there were murmurings about, cost cutting, potential layoffs. And at that point in time, I think in my head, though, it was like, oh, but that's not me, right? That's not me.
Because you're a top performer, Karen.
Got good ratings. I'd gotten promotions, definitely was like in a really good place.
And you went to the happy hours and you brought people. Come on, they want you there.
Exactly. And so to be honest, I think despite the fact that there were, murmurings here and there, it never even crossed my mind that could be me. And then nobody knew exactly when this was going to happen. Everybody honestly was kind of just in their own, just grinding, just doing their work. And then you get the email. And so how it actually played out was that the morning that it happened, you get an email that basically says whether or not you're still with the company. And
because one goes out to everyone instead of people worried the whole day. It just...
Yes, I think one goes out to the impacted folks first, I think. And then basically you got the email that says, thank you so much, but we no longer, you're no longer with the company anymore, right? Like it was just that. It was just an email. And then basically what happened is you maybe had an hour or two after that.
Come in, get your personal stuff.
No, not even that.
Oh.
You don't even go in. Because this was on a day, it was so early that you got the email. It might have been 6 a.m. that I realized I had the email. And then when it hit, it was, you had a couple hours to even let people know that you got laid off because nobody knew who got laid off. So I was the one that told my manager I got impacted. I was the one that had to tell my business stakeholder I got impacted.
At 6 a.m. in the morning.
Well, as soon as I could through our internal kind of Slack, our chats and things like that and emails. And then you got cut off, right? At some point after you had maybe an hour, maybe 2 hours to just let people know. And then you got cut off from the system. And then you get instructions in your personal email about how to return your laptop. Do you know what I mean? There was no
wow.
you going back in and saying goodbye. It was a very remote layoff, right?
That's harsh. I understand how they did it, but that's hard.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't know if there's a good way to do.
No,
these
there's
things.
never a good way.
I don't know if it would have been better if it was in person or if you had the time to go see folks. But it was a bit of a shock, I will say, right? Because it was 80% of my team at that point in time.
Right, we were saying they got rid of the entire team.
80%, and so I think
so it was nothing to do with you. It's whatever team you're on, which I said before, you weren't an engineer or ad sales. Your team was a little
that, and it's who you support. And if you supported an area of the business that they were going to be, investing in and felt there's a growth path and they're committed to, that's one thing.
Okay.
If you're in an area where they don't see that, then that's where, okay, well then we cut. And so it was jarring, I think. I will say what came out of it though, and I think that experience kind of was not necessarily good, but I think it's I think now I have a different sense of thinking about job security in a way that I haven't before, right? Where it's
because it doesn't matter how good of a performer you are.
You can't
it can happen at any time.
Yeah. You can't just be the good, heads down, doing your work. It's you got to think about the work that you do in context to the business that you support, where that business is going. You've got to think about the value that, if you don't see yourself where the business is going, then you got to figure out how to pivot in that direction or go somewhere else, right? But I do think you have.
So in hindsight, if you had more time inside of Facebook, you would have tried to have pivoted to a different part of the business, knowing there was going to be more security there.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a really good lesson.
Exactly.
That's producer Andrew. That's really good.
And so now. Coming out of that too, though, I think one thing that I didn't realize is up until this point, I've only had 2 jobs.
Deloitte and Meta.
Deloitte and Meta. The way I got the job at Deloitte was through campus recruiting, right? It was a very...
So you never had to actually look for a job?
Not really.
Okay.
I mean, even the Meta job, I applied on the Meta website.
Okay.
Right? So like that wasn't even a referral. I knew people, but like, I was just, putting things around. And that was very much a recruiter reaching back to me saying, "Oh, we got your application."
And this is really good. It fits our profile that we need.
Yeah, exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And like when I had applied to Meta and when I heard back from the recruiter, it was like months, right? It was months because my resume was somehow in their system and it matched something, in the future. And I don't even remember at that point what I'd even applied for. But like I've never, but that's how I knew how you get a job.
Which does not happen all the time for most people in today's world.
No, and I don't think I realized, like, everyone talks about your network. Everyone talks about your network. How important is your network, And I don't think I, like, really rocked it until I got laid off at Meta.
Okay.
Right? Because, of course, the outpouring of people that supported me in that moment was, like, phenomenal. Right? Like people, all my colleagues at Meta, my business stakeholder in particular, was like, he was just so sweet. Took me out to dinner and looked me in the eye and said, "Karen, every time I talk to someone in my network, I'm going to tell them you're available, and don't like I've got you.
That's a big thing to do.
It's a
People don't do that for everybody.
People don't do that for everybody, and I also think it's like one thing to say it, you know what I mean?
And then to do it is something else.
Exactly, right? And I was like, of course, sure, thank you, right? But like in my mind, I'm like, I'm gonna figure this out. Like I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna like apply to the companies the way that I typically apply to the companies. And this guy, John, who I have to like, was just
John who?
John Cantarella.
Okay.
He sent me a text and he said, "Karen, like, would you like to meet with the CEO of Ziff Davis?"
And John Cantarella worked at
Time with him.
Okay.
Before Meta. And so John's been at Meta for a very long time, has done really well there. But basically said like, "Hey, would you be interested in meeting with, I just met with the CEO of Ziff Davis. Would you be interested in talking to him?" And I, and I was laid off at this point. What better things do I have to do than to go talk to
And what was
CEO?
John's role at Meta?
He's the VP of community and creator scaled partnerships.
So big job at Meta.
Big job at Meta.
Okay.
Yep.
And he really liked you.
I mean, we he was my person, right? Like I supported him. I think I'd been working with him for at least over a year at that point.
Okay.
Yes. So we had a great relationship, and that was how I got eventually this job at Ziff Davis.
You're very fortunate, you know that. You're very good and talented, but you're also very fortunate that happened.
It very well. So
But it's also timing.
It's also timing. But this was again the first time that I didn't know jobs could happen. Like I didn't know you can get jobs like this. Like people talk about it, but the job wasn't posted, right? Like chief of staff at Ziff Davis was not a known role.
Well, chief of staff in the media and publisher industry in New York is not known pretty much at all.
Yeah, I didn't think about that.
Very few people have that role. Very few. Okay, so you got the job at chief of staff, right? Like holy crap! Now what the hell do you do?
So it was interesting because the interview process with Vivek was he basically pitched this is a project-based role, which was perfect, right? I get how to do projects. It's very much
you've been doing projects from the beginning of your career as a consultant. That's what you do.
Exactly. So it's like, I can do projects.
Yeah.
I like doing projects. And he's like, and these are going to be growth projects. And I'm like, even better.
Oh my God.
Because I don't like cost-cutting projects.
No, they're the worst.
They're the worst. That was a lot of consulting days. I didn't like that. And so I liked growth projects. But what the role ended up morphing into, and so the formal title now is actually head of strategic partnerships and initiatives.
I know what the answer is, but go ahead.
But wait, what was the question?
The question is, how did you, the chief of staff, and what did you working on? And I know he's going to tell you the growth stuff, and the growth stuff is going to be all AI. So you became the AI expert. Is that right?
I mean, that's like pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much, right? Like I think the moment that I joined was like when people just started talking about ChatGPT.
November 22.
Yeah.
And what year? When did you start?
February 23.
Okay, so it was just you basically started
3 months after people are talking about this thing
and
called
what it is.
ChatGPT.
Okay. And you are probably his AI expert because you said he knows about everything.
He knows about everything.
He did not know about AI.
So if we take it, before we go into AI, if we take it back to like what Ziff Davis is,
Okay.
right? Because like what he did was he went from taking Ziff Davis out of bankruptcy, buying Ziff Davis with one property at the time, which was PC Magazine, with a private equity firm. And so he went from Time to partnering with a private equity firm, buying PC Magazine that was bankrupt because we're going from print to digital.
Okay.
Right. And he knew that digital is going to be the growth story for this brand. And so he bought it with this PE firm, turned it around, turned it from being a successful, kind of dying print entity to a successful digital brand. Right. And then he was so successful at that he just started buying so many more, right? And so he bought, maybe 80 different brands, over 10 plus years. And that's what Ziff Davis is today, which we've got 5 divisions, one that he recently sold off successfully. But I think the big thing was that he had a vision around digital media. Then he was like, I just know what a good business is. Started buying businesses everywhere, whether it was, software businesses.
Is he still buying?
Still buying, but I think, so the latest sale that happened, which was a big one for us, was the first time that Ziff Davis has sold like an entire division, which was our connectivity division, to Accenture for $1.2 billion. And it was—
Is that my favorite speed test?
Yes.
Okay, I love speed test.
It is. But I think what it is it's an interesting moment now where it's, okay, let's maybe simplify our story a little bit, because it's tough for people to know what Ziff Davis is, right? And let's simplify it back down to like digital media, right, as the core, because there's still very much a belief in the strength of brands. And so in this era of AI, right, that still holds true, right? And so now he's still in a moment where nobody wants to touch digital media, right? It's like seeing this as an opportunity to like buy digital media at a great time and a great opportunity if you know what you're looking for, if you believe in strong brands, if you believe in what ultimately, in a world with AI slop, and everything else, what strong, credible, authoritative brands can be. And so, there's a strong thesis there for where.
Okay, so it's a great transition to.
Yes.
Okay, so you're the AI expert, right, inside of Vivek's world, the chief of staff working on projects. And then what happens with like Google Zero and Google going away, and like how does that impact everything?
It's an interesting narrative, because I think there's AI and then there's AI overviews that people constantly talk about with Google Zero. And I think it's nuanced a bit, where I think Google is still such a large, it's still where consumers go to search for information. It's still holding, the 90% kind of market share. Maybe it's dipped down to the 80th, but
but if then it's 88.
Yep.
Or 87.
Yep. But it's still, I don't know if anything can beat Google yet when it comes to like being the place that searches for information, but more people are absolutely searching more in ChatGPT and in other places. But I think the Google Zero story and the traffic story is very nuanced, and it's very interesting.
Okay, give me a little more detail of the nuance, please.
The nuance, I think, is it's AI overviews for sure. Mm-hmm. Of course, right? Of course, when someone gets an answer in Google, which they've been doing this for a very long time with featured snippets, with other things, certain queries, sometimes you just got an answer, right? And of course, you wouldn't need to then click through to the publisher's website. For AI overviews, I think depending on the query, you'll either see it or you don't. Where you see it matters. Sometimes you're going to see it at the top, sometimes you're going to see it in the middle, sometimes you're going to see it in the bottom, right? And all of that is nuanced in terms of like...
And it's desktop, mobile, it's all...
Exactly.
Everything's... Okay.
Everything's different. And so there's a couple like variations of like what drove the click for a publisher down for certain queries. And I'd say for informational queries, a lot of it you could say for sure AI overviews. I think in our world, at least in Ziff Davis, so we're kind of category leaders, and so we're not broad news. I think
right, and the categories are tech, health.
Exactly, health and wellness, tech, information, and gaming and entertainment.
Okay.
And so for us, I think where this is where
so it's nuanced because it changed depending on the vertical.
Exactly.
Okay.
Right. For health and wellness, like informational queries, right? For tech and shopping, more commercially intent queries where you don't always get an AI overview as much. But even if you do, it might be placed a little bit further down on the page. But you got to think about, well, why? Why does Google decide to do these things? Why does Google
Were
decide?
they doing ABC experiments all the time to see what's working the best?
Because they get a lot of different value too, right? Like just the same way that we get different value for certain queries, certain keywords, certain pages, right? They have higher advertising value for us. They have better commercial value for us.
Right, like what's the best mortgage is probably one of the most highly valued
Exactly.
searches out there. So it's, and a different one about best PC is different than I have a sore on my lip or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And so for commercial queries, those are competitive advertising keywords for Google too, right? And so if you've got a page,
Because they still have to generate the $1 billion plus a day in revenue.
exactly.
Okay.
And so then some of this kind of traffic loss to publishers is Google, to a certain degree, in my opinion, just getting more greedy, right? And so
Because they have to grow their 10 to 15 to 20% every year, and how are you going to do it? They need to
get more ads on the page, right? So there's a reality of like, I don't know if you've seen like a Google search result page these days, particularly on a commercial intent
I
query.
don't use Google search that much anymore, so I don't see ads that much anymore. But yes.
But their ads don't even look like ads.
I was going to say, but the next thing was they don't look like ads.
Right. So like a consumer doesn't even know the fact that ads have kind of taken over the SERPs. But I do think that's actually
And you said SERP. SERP means what?
Search engine result pages.
Yes.
But I think part of this is like, I think ads have just kind of exploded, to be honest.
I remember seeing someone's visual representation of Google SERP over the past 10 years, how it went from like a big, distinct blue box in this to basically part of the content now.
I mean, it used to be that the first page was publisher, 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 right? And now you've got either an AIO, you've got ads, and then you've got Reddit, you've got discussion in forums.
You just nailed the whole
right?
thing.
And then you've got
That's not very nuanced, though. That's just a statement of fact now.
And maybe there's just like 3 spots on the first page for publishers to fight against.
On the desktop.
On the desktop, even less maybe on mobile.
Right.
Right. And so it is the competitiveness, like that real estate.
But they still have to make their $1 billion a day, so they're still going to have ads in some places for people to click on.
And
they still get it.
That's crowding publishers out. Right? That's crowding publishers out. The more ads you have on the page, it's not just the AI overview. It's the more ads that you have on the page, the more that you're going to be prioritizing your carousels.
This is so insightful, Garen.
But like it's nuanced. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but
right?
I'm saying,
it's
but
nuanced.
Because you have 4 brands for 4 big categories, you're looking at it differently, and it's nice to hear that. Where sometimes I just think of traditional news, and you're thinking other verticals. So it's good to hear.
News is interesting too, though, right? Because I think Google's got like news carousels, right? So I do think the world of being able to just get organic search intent traffic, high intent traffic, is hard for everyone. But the reason for why it's hard for everyone is not necessarily just AI reviews. That's all.
Okay.
Right. But then you've got also Google Discover. Right. And so when people say Google Zero, right, I think they usually mean that from like a search perspective. But like Google Discover is larger traffic sources
for many publishers today.
Because it's larger than Apple News, it's larger than MSN. It's the largest kind of like passive engagement channel that you have.
And it knows
on the internet.
everything about you because it's all using your Google search queries.
And it's your interests.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. It's brilliant.
It's brilliant. And so that's become a new place of traffic. It's a different kind of traffic.
But that's going to go away at some point also.
Is it?
Okay.
I don't know.
No, it is.
I mean, I do think that is kind of, that's been...
Has anyone ever given publishers any free content that has not been taken away ever in the history of the internet in the past 30 years?
Okay,
no.
Fair.
So it's going to happen eventually.
But I think it's interesting. So you make a good point. There is definitely changes, like where it used to be that everyone talked about like an algorithm change on Google search, right? And so everyone keeps up with like core algorithm changes happening in Google search. In February, it was the first time that
February, like a month ago.
A month ago.
Oh, by the way, we're recording this on March 13th, 2026.
So February 27th was the wrap up of the first Google Discover algorithm shift.
Oh, okay.
Right. And so it's funny because it used to be, hey, you just had to worry about the search engine.
And now it's the search engine and the Discover
now
engine
you have to worry
change.
about the Discover engine. And it's not just about the search algorithm and the Discover algorithm. Now I think it's just a different game for publishers altogether, where they're also realizing that you're going to have to master engagement on so many different places, right?
Okay, so here's my big question of all this. So how do publishers then build the upper funnel that most of them are not very good at? And previously they were relying on Google search traffic to come and maybe now Google Discover. But how do they take care of the upper funnel to make sure they have traffic going forward?
This is where it's interesting because when people think about like, where do you go for search? And it was used to only be Google. Everyone just goes to Google. Now it's like people search a lot in social. And so social's becoming, and this is not me, because I'm not a TikTok
an example is like
person.
I go to TikTok and I want to get a new computer. So
Yes.
instead of going to Google search, I go to TikTok, best computer. Then I get 15 videos of some people talking
Yes.
about the best computer to buy.
Yes.
And that's all new.
And that's all new. And it's, I think, generational too, because this is not my generation. I'm not.
Oh, my wife does it all the time whenever we go traveling.
Maybe this isn't a generation thing, but like I'm just not a TikTok person, But then people that are swear that is where they're going to search now. Like that's their search destination, but that's not everyone, but it's just fragmented, right? And so now it's like you kind of need to know where people are searching, not just, again, on search, in AI platforms, in social, in commerce, right? Because now I think Amazon now has Rufus, which is their kind of AI chatbot, and it's trying to help you in research and discovery while you're in their shopping platform, right? And it's like, in theory, you think that should work, right? But I think until they figure out how to get better content and, adequate value exchange for the publishers that will give that trust to consumer that the product information they're giving them and the recommendations are, authoritative and that they're real, right? I think there's still a little bit to work out there, but I think the idea of it's great, right? Like discovery is going to happen where shopping happens, right? And so maybe it's just kind of closing, like it's everywhere. It's just trying to figure out how to optimize in the places where it matters for you.
And what's your take on the bots and blocking the bots and a block list versus an allow list? And what are you thinking about that these days?
I think...
And I know you're going to tell me it's nuanced, but go ahead.
I will say, because we're so large at Ziff Davis, I'll say we have two different policies set at a corporate level. If you're a digital media company, it's block. It's block, 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 right? There is no nuance to it. It's block. Block unless you're getting adequate value exchange and they're paying you for it.
Well, but you're not blocking, the DSPs and the SSPs, right? You're not blocking
the AI bots.
Okay.
The AI bots. Exactly. You're right. And then for our non-digital media companies, and so we've got.
What's an example of the non?
Moz. Moz is an SEO tool. An SEO SaaS a software company. It's one of the most well-known ones after SEMrush, Ahrefs. It's Moz. But they've got to be visible in the AI bots. If someone's asking about what is the best kind of SEO tool, we need them to surface Moz, right?
Oh, so that's just like allow every single thing and embrace it.
For sure, because what are we saying that the bots are like? Why do we want to block the bots? We want to block the bots because there's no value exchange for the content that they're taking. If there was,
I'll say stealing,
theft, right? If there was, right, then and it's also a substitute for what we're providing, right, as a business. It's a direct hit to the business model that we rely on as digital media publishers, right? But like Moz doesn't rely on traffic.
How do you what's the M?
MOZ.
MOZ, okay.
Their lifeline is getting leads to ultimately convert and buy subscriptions of their Moz product, right? And so in that instance, it's like, please scrape Moz and drive conversions over to Moz and bring us good leads, right?
Okay.
Like, of course, that we would love that. And so there's no conflict there. And so that's the lens, at least that we see it. But I think for all AI bots, we do see it as a direct substitution, right? Like if people are looking for credible health information, if people are looking for gaming reviews, if people are looking for a laptop review, right? That's investment on our side, right? That's investment of medically reviewed articles. Every article has to be medically reviewed. There's a doctor panel for that stuff, right? Because it has to be accurate. For gaming, someone's got to play the game, right? Someone's actually got to go through the work, and it's, hours and hours to actually play the game and understand all the levels and be able to put that all down in an article. For a product review, it's labs, right? It's physically, opening up the product, experiencing it, testing it against standards that you've developed for years and years and years, and that's not what bots can do yet, right? But the moment that you're letting the bot take that information to serve an answer, that's also just like, combining and with all these other
and
places.
the answer is okay, and sometimes it's good enough, but it's never exactly what your author intended to write.
No, and then where do we get the value in that?
The problem is there's no value exchange right now with what's going on.
Right. And I think the accuracy too, especially when we talk about like the number one use case, the way that people right now are using chatbots more than anything else is health queries, which I get it. I love it actually for that.
And what's your definition of a health query? Is it I'm sick, or is it I want to talk to someone? Like, is it health and wellness? Like,
can be and it became like, so for me, like my last question was like, is this a cold or is this allergies, right? Because and then it helps you figure it out. Or it could be any question that you're asking about your diet. It could be anything about is this the right type of like fitness routine, or can you recommend me a new one? It could be anything in that realm, right? But I do think when it comes to accuracy, but
if you're really sick, you don't use it. This is just when you're a little tangentially sick. Something's...
For me, yes, but I think it'll be like when I just want to know, like I'm not going to call my doctor for something, but I just want like quick answers to like, hey, like now how would I know if this is like developing into something more? At what point do you think I should go to the doctor? Right,
And you're okay with that personally using Claude or Gemini or Chat for that?
Yes.
But at what point does it cross a line? At what point do they still taking all the content from Ziff to actually produce those answers?
I think this is where there's also like a little bit of a duality where it's like, I love using AI for a lot of different reasons.
Yes.
Right. I love using AI for a lot of different reasons. And I think I can still be, and even Ziff Davis will say, like, we encourage the use of AI, not for content development though, but like we encourage the use of it.
We just want to be compensated appropriately for what we made.
Okay. Exactly. It doesn't mean though that we agree with you stealing our things and not getting compensated for it, right? Like we can appreciate the technology. We can acknowledge the fact that we believe that this is going to be the most
because
disruptive.
In some ways, as you'll attest to, the answer you get in Chat or Gemini or Claude is really freaking good for the most part.
Really, really good. But I will say, so like let's think about like a chatbot experience and almost like two bifurcated use cases. One use case is that you're using it kind of like you would use as a research or a search assistant. Mm-hmm. Right? You're using it for information. So that example about a cold, that's something I probably would have Googled in the past, had to go through a bunch of articles for, but now I get a very quick answer back.
Saves you a lot of time.
Saves you a lot of time. It is informational queries, or it's seeking information, right, which I maybe would have gone to a search engine for. And then there's like all the other AI use cases, which have nothing really to do with information seeking, right? Which is like, I'll use AI to help analyze like a bunch of data, for example.
Oh my God, Claude's phenomenal at that. Game changer.
Game changer.
Yeah.
Game changer.
Like the stuff it could do for me is something I couldn't imagine doing on my own.
And like, I think about my grinding analyst days.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like think about the work that you did when you were first coming out of college and the hours and the nights you spent having to reformat.
I was going to say, it's all about the formatting.
It's all about the formatting.
Like I do the most boring decks in the world. I sent one to you the other day. It is not boring anymore. It looks beautiful.
It looks beautiful.
And it took me 5 minutes.
And it is like, I mean, it's a lot of different things. It's like how much it can just process data and give you insights, at the, within minutes. It can be creating decks. It's like it could be creating an infographic that, might have taken someone, days.
Or you wouldn't
days.
even have done it because it was such a pain in the ass.
Yeah. Yeah. And so so there's like this bifurcated use. I think when it comes to information though, right? I do get nervous when people just accept the answers as being maybe just good enough, right? Where I do hope that we're gonna get to a world where the AI developers understand that there is actually value of a user
Getting the real source and paying for that content.
Getting the real source, yes, and then paying for that, because I do think that a lot of the studies right now is even for health, right? And if we go back to that number one use case, the accuracy is so low, right? Like I think there was a study recently specifically about health information, like retrieval, like health queries,
How often it gets it wrong?
How often? I think it was like 24% of the time it gets it right.
Okay. So it's, yeah.
Right. And, all of this, like, who knows whether, who knows if what set of, questions it asked and how it did that study. But I think broadly speaking, it's like the accuracy levels so far, anytime they've been tested, have not been great. They have not been great. And what I think, it sounds like maybe publishers are like whining, like, we need to get paid, you're stealing our stuff. Like, yes, but like, this is also better for the user. Like, I would love to believe that.
I don't think that comes out all the time, that the accuracy and the issues with the data that you get right now.
Right. And
we sort of accept it that it's wrong.
And I think
because it's magic.
To be honest, I think that's the reason that Google search hasn't actually gone down as much as people expect it to, is because we did a tech pulse survey for this is like tech buyers very specifically, but they said, like, tell us about your purchasing journey now, assuming that they're going to say, oh, well, like, I don't have to go to websites anymore because I just use ChatGPT. It tells me what to buy and I buy it. But then the real answer was like, I don't always, he's like, I use ChatGPT. It's not that they don't use it. I use ChatGPT for the discovery. I use it as a starting point. But when it comes to actually making the decision, I still need to validate it. So because I don't know if I can trust it. So I still end up double checking it on Google search. And then I still look for someone credible that says, right, that makes me feel like, okay, yes, now I can trust that this is the one that I should buy.
It depends on the importance of the search or the question. Will I go to, Chat, Gemini, and Claude, and will I go to Google search and just try to get the real answer if it's something that important to me?
Yeah, and do I feel like I still need a credible, authoritative stamp almost for that, And so for tech buyers, because they're usually more kind of expensive purchases, right? Like, you're not going to just take that first answer. And you're right. In some instances you might, but I think there is credibility still that people seek. And I do think in a world with more and more kind of AI slop and people having to like start to think about, do I trust this answer? Do I trust this answer? Like, is it right? I think I'm hoping that like what will ultimately build the trust is going to be when there's a better value exchange, because you can put that CNET said this, or you can put that Reuters said this, or whatever, you know what I mean? Like whatever brand that people say, and they can go back to and be like, I know that they've got editorial independence. I know that what they said wasn't paid for, which also we didn't talk about.
It's trust. Okay.
It's trust.
So we can go on forever. I got one last question. I'll give you two options.
Okay.
Option number one is, you've been at Ziff for how long?
3 years.
Anything in hindsight you would have done differently? That's option one. Option two is, what do you think the future looks like in the next 5 years? Pick one and we'll close on that.
We can do the first one because the second one's a little bit trickier for me. I think so the first one is, I think part of my role at Ziff Davis is actually about encouraging and inspiring people to use AI.
Internally.
Right? Internally. And the way that we've gone about it is that we had a Summer of Gemini program. We brought in new graduates that are kind of like AI first natives. And this is not my idea. This was my execution. The idea came obviously from the top, but Vivek's kind of hypothesis was that the way that people will adopt AI is going to be that they have to have their moment. They have to have like an AI moment, and they are only going to get an AI moment if someone like walks them and like walks with them one to one and like shows them what's it capable of and personalize it to their work, and then for them to have that unlock the way that you had that unlock moment.
Yes.
Right. And you probably had a lot of unlock moments.
Because I put them all on LinkedIn. Yes.
You don't talk about all of it. Like you have a lot more thought provoking, but I don't think you talk about like, I can't believe AI just did this.
Okay.
You know? And I think, and I agree with it. I agree with the premise that that is what it's going to take is for people to really get excited is to
have their
these-
own aha moment on something that makes their life or job that much better.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But I think if I had to go back and do anything differently, we were very all in because we are a Google Suite enterprise, and it made a lot of sense for us to be all in on Gemini. So we called it like the Gemini Champions, and we went all in on Gemini. And Gemini's gone a long way. It is such a good model. There's nothing to knock on that, right? But this next stage of what people say is going to really transform the way you work is workflows and agents, right? And
Gemini doesn't have them yet.
Gemini doesn't have them yet. And so I am at a point now where I'm like, maybe I should have done things in parallel. You know what I mean? Like, I think if I... And it's not too late. And so right now I'm kind of going all in on Claude Cowork. So, you know, and if people don't and haven't tried, I recommend, and it's not too late. Like granted, even if I had wanted to do Claude Cowork last summer, I couldn't have.
Wasn't available.
It didn't exist. Right. But now that it exists, I am like, I'm like playing this game of like, do I wait to see? Because Google I/O is going to happen in May. Do I wait to see if Google I/O is going to come out with like the Claude Cowork killer, or but there's a certain piece of me where I'm like, I almost feel like it's gotten so good. Claude Cowork and the connectors and how much it has an edge for enterprise use cases. I'm almost like it might be that, you know, we're going to have to get in a world where we're using multiple things.
My advice to you, I would use both.
Yeah.
I would use Claude and Gemini, use both. Have them offset each other. They're going to jump ahead of each other 1 and 2 all the time.
Yeah.
Karen, this is friggin' awesome conversation. You are the best. I love the energy. Give us any feedback. Let us know. Thank you, producer Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.